And for more on that, we're being joined by Richard Kimber here on the broadcast. Richard, thank you so much for being with us here on WION World is One. Talk to us. China's retaliatory move does not exactly come as a surprise.
No, indeed. It's really becoming standard practice for the Chinese Foreign Ministry after announcing that it plans retribution to then carry out retribution some few days later in very much a tit-for-tat fashion, as you suggest. These come only 3 days, these sanctions, after the US sanctioned high-profile individuals in the Communist Party in China over, as you say, what they call human rights abuses in the northwestern region of Xinjiang. Now, these sanctions that are now imposed on the US senators, they don't really have any details from the Foreign Ministry. They did not elaborate in their statement this afternoon about what exactly they're planning to do. But really, these are high-profile China critics that have been targeted. Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, some of the most outspoken China critics, particularly Marco Rubio, who himself has sponsored multiple bills this year alone that target China and Chinese businesses. Back in May, he tried to prevent any Chinese company from being listed or operating in a market capacity in the United States if that Chinese company was deemed to have some kind of connection to the Chinese military or to anything relating to human rights abuses. So he's definitely been an outspoken critic of China, which is probably why he's been singled out by China for this new round of sanctions.
Right, and this is not going to end here, is it? So China must also be preparing for another retaliatory move from the US as well.
Well, it's to be expected that there will be some form of retaliatory move, as you say, from the US. Whether it can continue in this very personal tit-for-tat sanctions against individuals is not really clear, because at some point it's going to run out of people who can justifiably be targeted. I mean, even with these sanctions, many of the commentators here saying that these are really nothing more than symbolic retribution moves from China, because in both cases, both with the US sanctioning the Chinese individuals and China sanctioning the US individuals, none of these individuals particularly have anything to lose in the short term. Neither of them on either side seem to have any known financial or legal assets in either country, and neither sides are likely to be travelling on a personal basis to either country anytime soon. So these really are seen as symbolic more than anything else. What perhaps might be more likely is in the build-up to the US election that President Trump is still trying to rally his supporters behind, we can expect to see him talk tough more on China and to encourage members of his close-knit Senate team around him to try and impose more sanctions, simply to try and boost his domestic popularity. So there's likely to be an effort in the midst of an environment now where the trade war is kind of off the table, and previous hesitations by the Trump administration to impose sanctions like this because of concerns how it might affect the trade war are no longer really concerns, as all of those trade talks seem like a distant memory after the first 6 months of this year. So we can expect probably some form of economic attack from the US, but probably not, I would imagine, more specific individual sanctions against Communist Party members.
Richard Kimber joining us live with that ground report from Hong Kong on the broadcast. Thank you, Richard, for being with us.